Hi guys, it's Liam here, and today we're reviewing the one and only novel, The Great Gatsby, by F. Scott Fitzgerald, the tale of a man who built himself on an illusion to live by. The novel is a very interesting read and definitely sheds some light on how the 1920s were lived. We hear the novel in first-person perspective by the protagonist, Nick Carraway. Nick just moved to Long Island, hoping to make a successful career in the bonds business. He bought a little house in West Egg, neighboring his soon-to-be best friend, Jay Gatsby. He has a cousin who lives across the lake at East Egg, Daisy Buchanan, married to her immensely wealthy husband, Tom Buchanan. Now, where the plot gets interesting is 5 years ago, Daisy and Gatsby used to be lovers before Gatsby went off to war. Daisy, never hearing from Gatsby, decides to marry Tom. Only recently has Gatsby moved to West Egg, intending to reunite himself with Daisy, and to leave the plot line there for you to indulge yourself in. Now, my first thoughts settling into the book was the plot line started a little slow. The first several chapters introduce the characters and their well-formed personalities, which I'll talk about a little later. I personally thought the plot was going to be a little deeper and more intriguing than it was. But as soon as I got into probably the last 3 chapters, that's when the plot thickened for me and I was hooked. F. Scott Fitzgerald has amazing use of vocabulary, metaphors, themes, imagery, and symbolism, and so much more. One of the most recurring themes in the book is love, which runs alongside individualism and social class. Almost all of the main actions in the novel which affect the plot so greatly would not have happened without the jealousy for love. Gatsby would not have moved to West Egg if not for his dear old love, Daisy, across the bay. Tom and Gatsby would not have gotten into a fight over Daisy, resulting in stressed out Daisy hidden running Myrtle Wilson with the jealousy for love. And then Tom would not have told Wilson that Gatsby's car was the one to hit and run his wife if not for his despite of Gatsby and his love for Daisy. And lastly, Wilson would not have shot Gatsby if not for his love of Myrtle. Now, individualism plays a big role in this novel too. Gatsby being the most self-made man in Long Island. When Gatsby was a boy, he ran away from home with nothing but the clothes on his back. While exploring the world, Gatsby made a daring rescue by saving a man by the name of Dan Cody from his sinking yacht. Dan Cody was a wealthy millionaire who then raised Gatsby and taught him everything he knows today. However, as time went on, Mr. Cody eventually passed, and Gatsby, hoping to receive the old man's inheritance, received nothing at all. That was when Gatsby became the self-made man he is in the novel, and soon he was booming with business. Nick Carraway also shows an impressive amount of individualism, as he made his way from the Midwest to the East to the city of New York. He read a vast amount of books on the career of selling bonds and successfully landing himself a job and a house in West Egg. With his rich and wealthy cousin Daisy and neighboring Gatsby offering him money and jobs, Carraway was reluctant and fended for himself, which says a lot about his character. Another interesting theme we see in the book, however don't see in our society to such a great extent today, is social class. For starters, blacks were slaves for the uptight rich white men, like Tom Buchanan for example. He treated his servants as animals and didn't talk to them the way I would talk to you with a proper tone and voice. Now, this novel back in the 20s portrayed everyone as either very wealthy or just a mediocre mid-class. And lastly, there was a big difference in the significance of the power men had over women. Tom had great control over Daisy and even over his open affair with Myrtle. One example was when Tom rented a hotel suite and gave Myrtle a puppy. Then Myrtle brought up his wife Daisy and he slapped her across the face, showing no remorse. This demonstrates the unnecessary power men have over women in the early 1900s, and there was little that could be done, because that's the way society ran things. So now, let's talk a little bit about the characters. Nick Carraway is a hard-working young man from Minnesota who was educated at Yale and fought in World War I. Nick doesn't take shortcuts in life, and we see that as the novel progresses. He is fortunate for what he has and treats everyone with equality. Jay Gatsby, on the other hand, is a quiet man, knows what he wants in life, and made his money by working for it. He also throws elaborate parties every Saturday night and is willing to do anything to gain the social position he thinks necessary to win Daisy. Daisy Buchanan, Nick's cousin, the woman Gatsby is in love with, and wife to wealthy Tom Buchanan. Daisy met Gatsby before the war in Louisville. when he was training to be a soldier. They fell madly in love. Daisy waited till after the war for him. However, he never returned. Then Tom, a young, powerful man, came and swept her off her feet and asked her to marry him. Daisy behaves superficial and hides behind the words of her husband, never speaking her thoughts aloud. Near the end of the novel, Nick Carraway, or should I say F. Scott Fitzgerald, had a few good quotes I wanted to read. I see now that this has been a story of the West. After all, Tom and Gatsby, Daisy and Jordan and I were all Westerners, and perhaps we possess some defiancy in common which made us subtly unadaptable to the Eastern life. So this quote, I think, sets off the book because although they lived and all the events occurring happened in New York or the East, all these characters truly were born in the West, and given the circumstances of the tragic ending of the book, it definitely appears that they weren't meant for an Eastern lifestyle. The next quote I wanted to read is, Tom and Daisy, they smashed up things and creatures, and then retreated back into their money or their vast carelessness, or whatever it was that kept them together, and let other people clean up the mess they had made. So this really shows the greed and overcompensation of power Mr. and Mrs. Buchanan have. This is a great character development for both Nick and Tom and Daisy. Although Nick is failing to them, he realizes what selfish bodies they are, which expresses Nick's character as being one of the few who are appreciative and respectful to everyone. And the last quote I wanted to read, I thought of Gatsby's wonder when he first picked out the green light at the end of Daisy's dock. He had come a long way to this blue lawn, and his dream must have seemed so close that he could hardly fail to grasp it. He did not know that it was already behind him, somewhere back in the vast obscurity beyond the city, where the dark fields of the Republic rolled on under the night. Gatsby believed in the green light, the orgastic future that year by year recedes before us. It eluded us then, but that's no matter. Tomorrow we will run faster, stretch our arms out further. And one fine morning, so we beat on, boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past. So the green light referred to in the quote I just read is on Daisy's dock, and it is a great symbol throughout the entire book. It is a beacon of hope for Gatsby to find Daisy. He could see that she was out there somewhere, or the green light. He just didn't know where. Somewhere so close, but yet so far away. The green light appeared at the beginning of the book, and now at the end of the novel, showing that gay Gatsby was able to move on and rest in happiness. So that ends my book review for The Great Gatsby. I highly recommend you guys check this out. It's a great read.